The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital hummed their familiar tune as Elena Martinez completed her evening rounds. At 28 years old, she had been a nurse for 5 years, and she loved every exhausting minute of it. Her mother always said she had a heart too big for her own good. Elena simply believed that caring for others was what she was meant to do. Room 412 had become her most frequent stop over the past 3 months. The patient there, a man named Daniel, had been waiting for a kidney transplant. He was 32 with dark hair and kind eyes that seemed to carry a weight Elena couldn't quite understand. He never had visitors, no family, no friends stopping by with flowers or cards, just Daniel, alone in that sterile room, waiting. "Good evening," Elena said softly as she entered, checking his vital signs on the monitor. "How are you feeling today?" Daniel opened his eyes and gave her a tired smile. "Better now that you're here. You know, you're the only person I talk to these days." Elena felt her heart squeeze. In all her time as a nurse, she had seen many patients, but something about Daniel's quiet loneliness struck a chord deep within her. Perhaps it was because she understood what it meant to be alone. She had lost her father to kidney disease when she was 16. She remembered the waiting, the hope that slowly faded with each passing day. "Well, I'm here every day," Elena said gently, adjusting his blanket. "So you're stuck with me." "I wouldn't want it any other way," Daniel said quietly. Over the weeks that followed, their conversations grew longer. Daniel told her about his love of old books and classical music. He talked about his childhood, though Elena noticed he was careful never to mention his current life outside the hospital. When she asked what he did for work, he simply said he worked in business and quickly changed the subject. Elena didn't push. Everyone had their privacy, and she respected that. What Daniel didn't know was that Elena had made a decision 3 weeks ago. A decision that kept her up at night, but one she knew in her bones was right. She had gone through the testing quietly during her days off. The results had come back, and they were a match. A perfect match. She was going to give Daniel her kidney. Her mother had cried when Elena told her. "Mia, you barely know this man. What if you need that kidney someday? What if your own children need it?" But Elena had held her mother's hands and said what she truly believed. "Mama, Papa died waiting for a kidney. I watched him fade away day by day. If I can save someone from that fate, if I can give someone the chance Papa never got, then I have to do it. This is why I became a nurse." Her mother had pulled her close and whispered, "Your father would be so proud of you." The day Elena told Daniel, she found him staring out the window at the city below. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Daniel," she said softly, her heart pounding, "I need to tell you something." He turned to look at her, and something in her expression made him sit up straighter. "I've been tested," Elena said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I'm a match. I'm going to give you one of my kidneys." The color drained from Daniel's face. For a long moment, he simply stared at her, his mouth opening and closing as if he couldn't find the words. "No," he finally said, his voice hoarse. "No, Elena, you can't. You don't understand. You have your whole life ahead of you. You can't risk that for me. I'm nobody. I'm just a patient." Elena walked closer and sat in the chair beside his bed. "You're not nobody, Daniel. You're a person who deserves to live, and I'm a person who can help you live. That's all that matters. But why?" Daniel's eyes were shining with tears he was trying to hold back. "Why would you do this for a stranger?" Elena thought of her father. She thought of all the patients she had held hands with as they took their last breaths. She thought of every moment that had led her to nursing, to this hospital, to this room. "Because someone should have been able to do this for my father," she said softly. "Because kindness isn't about what someone can give you in return. It's about what you can give when someone needs it most." Daniel turned away, his shoulders shaking. When he finally looked back at her, tears were streaming down his face. "I don't deserve this." "I don't deserve you." "Everyone deserves a chance at life," Elena said firmly. "Even lonely patients in room 412 who won't tell me anything about their lives outside these walls." A broken laugh escaped Daniel. "There's a reason for that." "I'm sure there is," Elena said. "But it doesn't change my decision. The surgery is scheduled for next week. The surgery went well. Elena woke up in recovery with a dull ache in her side, and the knowledge that somewhere in this hospital, Daniel was waking up too. Waking up with a kidney that worked. Waking up with a future. Her mother was there, holding her hand. "The doctor says you did beautifully, and the patient is doing very well." "Good," Elena whispered, closing her eyes with relief. "That's good." It was 3 days before she was strong enough to visit Daniel. A nurse friend wheeled her to his room where she found him sitting up, color in his cheeks for the first time since she had met him. When Daniel saw her, his eyes filled with tears again. "Elena," he breathed, "how do I ever thank you? How do I ever repay someone for literally giving me life?" "You live," Elena said simply. "You live well and you live fully. That's all the thanks I need." Daniel looked down at his hands, and when he looked back up, there was something different in his expression, something vulnerable and honest. "I need to tell you the truth," he said quietly. "About who I am." Elena waited, curious but patient. "My name is Daniel Thornton. I'm the CEO of Thornton Industries. We manufacture medical equipment. I have a penthouse in the city and more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes." He paused, his voice breaking. "And I have been the loneliest person you could ever imagine." Elena blinked, processing this information. Thornton Industries. She had seen their name on half the equipment in this very hospital. "When I got sick," Daniel continued, "I made a decision. I checked into this hospital under just my first name. I didn't tell anyone who I was. I wanted to see if anyone would care about Daniel the patient, not Daniel the CEO. I wanted to know if I mattered as a person, not as a bank account." He looked at Elena with such raw honesty that her heart ached. "For 3 months, nobody came. Business partners I thought were friends never visited. The board sent a card once. That was it. I realized I had spent my entire adult life building a company and forgetting to build a life." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And then you came into my room every single day. You talked to me like I was a person. You cared about me when you didn't know I could give you anything at all. And then you gave me your kidney." Elena felt tears prick her own eyes. "You saved my life," Daniel said. "But more than that, you showed me what life is actually worth living for. Not the money, not the success, but the simple act of one human being caring for another, expecting nothing in return." Elena reached out and took his hand. "We all get lost sometimes, Daniel. We all forget what matters, but we can always find our way back." "I want to do better," Daniel said earnestly. "I want to be the kind of person who deserves what you gave me. I want to build something that matters." Over the following weeks, as they both recovered, Elena learned more about the man behind the CEO title. Daniel told her about his childhood, about losing his parents young and throwing himself into work to avoid the grief, about building an empire but forgetting to build friendships, about the wake-up call that kidney failure had given him, and Elena told him about her father, about why she became a nurse, about her belief that we are all connected by our shared humanity. The day they were both discharged, Daniel asked Elena to come to his office the following week. She agreed, curious about what he wanted to show her. When she arrived at Thornton Industries, she was escorted to the top floor. Daniel met her there, looking healthier than she had ever seen him. There was a light in his eyes that hadn't been there before. "I want to show you something," he said, leading her to a conference room. Inside, architects' drawings covered the walls. Plans for a new building. A new facility. "This," Daniel said, gesturing to the plans, "is the Martinez Memorial Kidney Center, named after your father. It will provide free dialysis and transplant services to people who can't afford them. Nobody will die waiting like your father did. Not if I can help it." Elena's hand flew to her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. "And this," Daniel continued, pulling out another set of documents, "is a nursing scholarship fund in your name to help young people who want to care for others the way you do." "Daniel," Elena whispered, overwhelmed. "You gave me life," Daniel said softly. "Let me use that life to honor what you did. Let me use it to help others. That's what you taught me, that we're here to lift each other up." Elena looked at this man who had been a lonely patient in room 412. and she saw someone transformed. Not by money or success, but by understanding what truly mattered. "There's one more thing," Daniel said, his voice nervous now. "I know this might be too much. I know I'm probably overstepping. But these past months, getting to know you, seeing the world through your eyes, it changed me. You changed me." He took a deep breath. "I'm not asking for anything right now. I know you gave me your kidney out of kindness, not romance. But I want you to know that I've fallen in love with you. Not because you saved my life, but because of who you are. Your compassion, your strength, your absolute certainty about what matters in this world." Elena's heart was pounding. "When I'm ready," Daniel continued, "when we're both healed and strong, I would like to take you to dinner, not as a patient and nurse, but as two people who found each other in the most unexpected way, as two people who understand that life is precious and connection is everything." Elena looked at this man who had learned what it meant to truly live. She thought about the journey they had both been on. How sometimes we have to lose everything to understand what we actually need. "I would like that," she said softly. "I would like that very much." 6 months later, Elena stood beside Daniel at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Martinez Memorial Kidney Center. Her mother stood on her other side, tears streaming down her face as she clutched a photo of Elena's father. Daniel squeezed Elena's hand as the first shovel broke ground. This building would save lives. It would honor the memory of a good man who had died too soon. And it would stand as a testament to a simple truth that Elena had always known, but Daniel had needed to learn. That we are not measured by what we accumulate, but by what we give away. That the richest life is not one filled with money, but one filled with purpose and connection. That sometimes the greatest gift we can give is not something expensive or grand, but simply the willingness to care about another human being when they need it most. Daniel had been a lonely millionaire CEO who thought he had everything, but he had been dying, alone in a hospital room, with no one who truly cared. Elena had been a young nurse with little money but a heart full of compassion, and she had given him not just a kidney, but a reason to live. A reminder that wealth means nothing if we forget to be human. Now they stood together, partners in healing. In time, they would become partners in life. But that was a story for another day. Today was about breaking ground on a center that would save countless lives. Today was about honoring those we had lost by helping those we could still save. Today was about understanding that the most valuable thing any of us possess is not in our bank accounts. It's in our hearts, in our capacity to care. In our willingness to give of ourselves for others. Elena had given Daniel a kidney. But in doing so, she had given him something far more precious. She had given him back his humanity. She had shown him that he was worth loving, not for what he owned, but for who he was. And Daniel had learned the greatest lesson of his life. That success without compassion is empty. That wealth without generosity is meaningless. And that the loneliest millionaire in the world is still just a man who needs connection, purpose, and love. As the cameras flashed and the crowd applauded, Elena looked up at Daniel and smiled. He smiled back, his eyes full of gratitude and something deeper, something that looked a lot like hope. They both knew the journey ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they would walk it together, bound by an act of selfless kindness that had transformed them both. Because that's what real love does. It transforms us. It makes us better. It reminds us why we're here, to care for each other, to lift each other up, to be the reason someone else believes in goodness again. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, that care comes from the most unexpected places. From a young nurse who sees a lonely patient and decides he's worth saving. From a wealthy man who learns that true riches have nothing to do with money. From two people who find each other in a hospital room and discover that healing comes in many forms. Physical, emotional, spiritual, and always, it begins with choosing to care. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to support more heartfelt stories. And in the comments below, tell us about a time when kindness changed your life or someone else's. Your stories inspire us to keep creating content that matters.